I thought I would hop in and maybe try to help a little bit with troubleshooting the problem. I'm not that familiar with the actual code in the scripts. All I go by is basically what I read that's posted, and maybe take a look at the logs, like the papyrus logs and maybe the crash logs, and try to infer some context from that. So I don't know if the purge is going to work. I know you said you reinstalled the game, so reinstalling the game means that the folder is clear. Your Steam folder is clear, and I'm assuming purging things from Vortex means that Vortex is creating a sim folder and then somehow linking everything in through a sim folder. I'm not familiar with Vortex, so I don't know if it literally tells you like the way that I look at it. It's almost like a compilation. It's a compile, so it literally would take certain files and then compile a game folder, and then that game folder is what either gets passed on to the actual game folder or what gets executed. And if that's the case, then there should be some kind of report or some output that would define, that would show you what is actually going into that compile. I hope that works, but just in case it doesn't, I'm gonna try to kind of throw some thoughts in on this and see if it helps, because I know this is kind of a tough point that it's kind of a hump here that you're stuck on. So I'm going to go over some conceptual thinking. I don't know if I have, I don't remember saying things like this in my game. But of course, I don't have SS2 installed. I was tempted to install it just to see if I get the same kind of error message, and I still might do that, because it can be in there, but I just simply do not do the quests. And that's one of the things I wanted to kind of talk about. Okay, so in taking a look at the post, if we go back and start with the posts here, you've got, are you using an unchanged CPC helper install? The answer is yes. I don't know what the answer you gave is yes. I don't know what's involved with that, but I'm assuming that for okay, so for the contest, I'm assuming the contest is restricted to SS2 only assets, which would make sense, since that would keep things localized to SS2. But that doesn't show that anything else might be currently installed in the game at this time. Now, I'm not trying to say that that is the cause of the issue. I know the kind of debate would be, we are not having this issue, therefore if you are, what's the difference? And then the difference might be, well, I've installed this, well, there's your problem. I found out that that is sometimes a yes and a no, because it's not a direct cause, but it could be an indirect cause in the way that it triggers game logic that is beyond the way the programmer or the scripter or whatever may have even considered. Because the game has a certain logic that it has to follow. It doesn't matter what game it is. You don't really need to know the internals of it, but it has to follow a certain logic. Otherwise, everything you see on the screen will be chaos of colors, chaos of shapes. So it has to follow a certain logic. So the short answer is yes and no. But I'm not going to defer to that, because I usually like try to find the causality, what causes the problem, so it can be fixed. All right, so have you purged anything you've installed with Vortex? If the answer is no, then and your purge works, then that would definitely rule out, or that would actually, that would help to determine the cause of the problem. And you've done a full install through Steam, so there's not any. I've done that twice. Okay, so let me talk about this real quick. I'll probably have to split this into different videos because it takes a while to upload, and man, it is blurry as all get out. Okay, so Vortex, I'm kind of a little bit familiar with Mod Organizer 2. So Mod Organizer 2, okay, so let me back up even further. Okay, so Windows offers the ability to create a symlink. A symlink is a symbolic link. So whenever you open a symlink, the operating system says, okay, this file that I'm opening is not the actual file. It's a link to the actual file. So that allowed, I did this once before with kind of like a really earlier version of this program I'm working on. I do mean a way earlier version. Instead of actually installing loose files, I installed symlinks. So the symlinks take up, oh God, they're only like so many bytes in size. So they're really fast to install, really fast to delete, and they point to wherever the file actually is. So you could spread files all over the place. So if you have very limited storage space on your device or drive, and you want to install hundreds of gigabytes of files, you can actually use symlinks for that, because it only takes just a handful of bytes, because it's just a reference pointer, or it's actually a link to a file, which then can be massive. Okay. So you should not ever have to reinstall your Fallout 4 folder because nothing gets installed there. Mod Organizer doesn't install anything directly there, and I don't believe Vortex does either. I haven't really looked at Vortex, but I believe the same mod author wrote that. It's now being maintained by somebody else, but I do believe that was the basis of it, because I think one of the things the Vortex mod author had to overcome was a new way. He was looking at, I think a while back, he was looking for a new way to do symlinks with Windows 11, because I think with Windows 7 it was easy. With Windows 11, not so much easy, because I think of the way the operating system changed. Okay, so that being said, it should not be a problem with a loose file in your Fallout 4 game folder, so we can rule that out. We can rule that out. You got a clean install of that. You purge Vortex. If you still get the issue, it has nothing to do with loose files, because you're not launching it through Vortex. So purging Vortex shouldn't matter. Only when you launch things through Vortex does it create these kind of sim folders, sim files, and do all of its virtual folder linking. So running it outside of that shouldn't matter. So I don't know if installing, but that being said, I'm not sure how you installed the helper, the CPC helper. If that was installed through Vortex, it seems like you would need to launch that through Vortex in order to have access to all the files, because that's what Vortex does. It kind of creates this virtual directory of the game directory and your files without really directly modifying your game directory. So if you don't launch it through Vortex, it doesn't know about what files it needs to install. I don't know what a purge does. If you purge your files in Vortex, I'm assuming that purges everything that is not currently active. That would be my guess. But still, you would need to launch it through Vortex if the CPC helper install was done through Vortex. And therefore, what you would have is a basic SimSettlements 2 install, and then whatever the CPC helper is. I'm not familiar with it, so I'm going to have to defer that to Chef or Yagason or one of you guys. But what I'm doing is trying to eliminate the possibilities. So depending on how CPC was installed, if it installed through Vortex, the only thing that Vortex would be openly aware of would be your official game files, your SS2 files, SS3 if you have that in there, and then whatever the CPC helper program is. I haven't seen it, so for some reason I want to say it's an executable that is independent of Vortex, but it would need to have access to the Vortex virtual directory, which may only be created when things are run through Vortex. So you would need to run any executable linked to Vortex through Vortex. So let's say we've done that. That's all been done. So we have a clean Steam install. Vortex only knows about the SS2 Chapter 3 files, of course HUD framework, the unofficial patch if you have it, and oh god, what was the other one? It was HUD framework, and there's something else. I'll have to take a peek here. I'm pretty sure there's another one up here. Workshop framework. Okay. All right. So you have that basis done. Okay. So here's what I would do. If you continue to get these errors, and when I look at this log, when I look at your Papyrus log, I'm going to go ahead and keep this. When I look at this Papyrus log, and I'm not keeping it like permanently, it's I opened this through a zip archive over here, and then you can see that I've closed the zip archive. So once I close it, it says the file's not available anymore. Do I want to delete it? And I had to say no, otherwise I'm going to have to reopen it and grab it. But when I look at this, I believe all of these here, which are Creation Club, if these are Creation Club, like up here, you see where it says, you see up here where it's got building plan missing file, add-on script missing file. I'm not really sure if this implies that a game save was loaded and something was removed, because I remember something about an AOP or ACP or something in a previous one, but I'm not really sure about this. The only thing I can think of is it's looking for a script or looking for something that it cannot find, and therefore it doesn't even know it exists. The way to test this, if I was going to test this out, here's what I would do. I would delete all the Papyrus logs. Start by deleting all of these logs. These right here. I've got your Papyrus right here. So you delete all of these logs. So you clear that out, right? And then you run the game. So you just run Fallout 4 through Vortex, wherever you have your files defined. If you have them locally, you can just run the game locally, and it'll pick them up. But if it's through Vortex, you have to run it through Vortex, because that's what creates these virtual directories that everything needs to access. Just run the game, and then, let the loading screen or whatever, not the loading screen, but, the main menu come up, and then exit out. Go in and take a look at your Papyrus logs. See if these entries here, not Creation Club, but see if these entries here, like meh is kind of interesting. Meh is an interesting file name. That's almost like a for fun file, or somebody's just doing some kind of test or something. And see if these entries are there. If they are, then they're loaded when the game is loaded, and it has to do with something in the game files themselves, something in one of the scripts, or the scripts are calling a script that doesn't exist, and therefore it's asking, okay, I can't find. It looks like what it's looking for is in the sim settlements. I'm assuming this is like a colon is a reference. So I'm assuming the Spotlight, KG Sim Spotlight, might be a script or might be a function in a script. I'm not really sure. I'm assuming Sim Settlements is maybe one of the BA2s or ESPs, and then that is the KG Sim Spotlight is the actual name of the script, although I don't know why it wouldn't say PEX. That looks more like a function name rather than an actual PEX file, but I think that's what I think it's saying it can't find that function, so is the file missing? So if that's the case, then these are in the actual, the current Sim Settlements 2 release. Okay, remember, now don't load your game, don't do anything like that, and we're doing a base SS2 SS3 and whatever the CPC helper install is. That's it. Nothing else. No other mods. I think Vortex will let you do that using, I think he calls it profiles. Okay, so that's what I would rule out first. So that would be the first step. Because right now, if you loaded a game or you have mods in there, it's going to be hard to track when this occurs. Because I'm assuming at this point it doesn't necessarily occur from a modded game, but it may. And it may come from a modded game that, like I said, is an indirect cause of the modded game, not necessarily directly modifying the scripts. So you could say, yes, it didn't modify any scripts, but yet there is some weirdness going on. Okay, that's the first thing I would do. The next thing, and then what I would do is I would see if these I types are there. Now remember, you're doing just base SS2, SS3, and a CPC helper. You've purged Vortex, whatever that's going to do. You have a clean install. So the only thing these error messages could be coming from is from the SS2, SS3, or the CPC install, the helper install. And remember, this is not about trying to say, all right, dude, this is, somebody's fault, but we're trying to solve this problem. Because this has been going on, I think, with you for a while. So what we have to do is eliminate every single variable, just run the game. Don't even go into the game. Just run it. Don't try to design a settlement. Don't try to do any of that. Just run the game, exit out, and then if you can, post that log back. And let's see what entries are in that log. Now, I don't know, in order to design a settlement for SS2, if you have to actually play the game or you can do the CPC helper. I'm not really sure. If you don't have to actually go through the whole process of the stranger coming in and then becoming Jake and all of that to design an SS2 settlement, to actually design that, then I'm assuming you're going to have to clear. You're going to have to. If you're going to develop a settlement, you're going to have to clear it out, right? So I'm assuming you're going to have to clear it out. In order to do that, you have to take ownership of a settlement. Now you can do that using Workshop Framework without going through any of the SS2 quests. You can just go there, take control of the thing, clean everything out, and then begin doing, I'm assuming, some type of build. But I guess you're going to have, like I said, I'm not sure what the helper does. You wouldn't want to go through the whole process. You wouldn't want to go through the whole gaming process to, like, you wouldn't want to say, okay, I'm going to drop a plot and then I want to have the settlers build it and go through that whole situation. You'd want to be able to drop plot, and all that. So hopefully that's what the helper does. So I'm going to have to make some pretty big assumptions here. So I'm going to assume the helper or something allows you to design and build your settlement for export through Workshop Framework without the need to actually do all the SS2 questing. All right, and that's what we need to find out. So is something, okay, so now go back. Let's go back. So we have SS2, we have base SS2, SS3, install, a CPC install, and a clean Steam. So we launch the game, but we don't actually go into the game. So we just, you kind of fire it off. It says, do you want to start a new game and all that? Don't do that. Just bring the thing up, exit out. That should load. That should load the initial game, and let's see what that shows. That may show something like. That may only have your Creation Club stuff in it. I'm not sure yet, but that'll give us just what happens when the game runs. Now, do it again, but go into a new game. And I'm assuming that's going to launch SS2, right? So before you even do any of the initial Sean Baby stuff, before you even, before the Vault-Tec rep comes, before any of that happens, once it says SS2 has started, save the game, exit out, and then see what then post that papyrus log up. Because what I'm looking for is because the SS2 package, the way that I'm looking at it, remember I'm looking at it that's contextually, it's built up of different layers and different systems think of a system as a script or set of scripts that does something. So you could say, like, in order to put an object on the screen, that is part of, let's say, Workshop Framework, that is part of that system. But you have subsystems built off of it. Are resources required? What does it take to put this object on the screen? Are resources met? So those are all subsystems that are going to kick in. And what we need to see is at what point, what systems are engaged at that time that is generating these errors. And there's a lot of scripts running, and trying to track it through is going to take an enormous amount of time. But it would be easy to say, oh, this happened, this started spitting out once I started a new game before I did anything. Or, this happened when I started putting down plots, or the thing leveled up. So if it's leveling up and it has to remove objects and replace them, and this stuff starts spitting out, then either something is not, either scripts maybe are not being stopped and then released, or kind of marked for deletion or deleted, or it's some kind of residual stuff in a game save, because that could also be the possibility of a missing file. This is in an old game save, because you load the old game save up because you're wanting to salvage whatever work you've already done. But you wouldn't need to do that, because what you could do is import, unless it's a work in progress, you could import your previous exported save and then start from that. And when you import that save, are these messages coming up? You see kind of like what I'm doing. I'm kind of taking it one step at a time by saying there could be hundreds of scripts running. So what we want to do is know at what point are certain systems in SS2 engaged, when are they activated, and what is the output from that activation. And that will say, okay, this happened at this point, and that might help to isolate the problem. That's what I want to kind of to try and convey, because to me, this I type shouldn't even be showing up. But what I find more interesting is, just as interesting, is property. Property, a script no longer contains that property. That, to me, says that a game save, it's an older game save where the script is changed. So it wants to reapply. Like, imagine years ago, you used to have years ago, when processors, I'm gonna kind of stutter a little bit because I got a lot of processes going on in my brain. All right, so I'm gonna try to organize this the best I can. Years ago, in order to simulate multitasking, you had what they called a processor interrupt. So basically, something is coming into the processor, because the processor was the main central processing unit, CPU, central processing unit. So all of these supporting chips, like let's say a UART chip, a serial chip, has data coming in, and once the buffer gets full, because UART doesn't have any buffer, it's basically like 8 bits. When it gets full, it says, look, I got more data coming in, I got to get rid of this stuff, this crap I got to get rid of. So it will signal the CPU, I need to interrupt you. You need to transfer this data from this chip, this address, this bus address into memory, so I can get the next chunk, the next 8 bits or next byte for serial data transfer. Parallel is all 8 at once, because serial comes in 1 bit at a time. To do that, you have to say the state of those registers, because once that particular interrupt is complete, back a long time ago, I think it was 6502, it was RTI, return from interrupt. Then what that did was that said, okay, I'm going to pop off the stack, or wherever it stored it, the state of those registers before the interrupt happened. I'm going to restore those registers. All of the registers that had mathematical results in it, comparative results, all that is restored. The address that was the last, the last executable address, that's restored, because then it's going to increment to the next executable address depending on what the instruction is, because some instructions have larger addressing requirements than some. For example, back then, as you'd have a no-op, which would be just on an 8-bit machine, it's basically 8 bits. Or you would have a jump, which would be 8 bits, and then you're going to need an address after that. So certain instructions have that's what I'm looking for. They require more than just the instruction itself. Sometimes it requires an address, an offset address, or something after that. So whenever you load a game save, it's going to try to restore those values back. But when those values are trying to be executed by Papyrus and it calls that script, it cannot initialize whatever that is. It can't either initialize the variable or it can't restore the variable to whatever it was in a current state, because that script no longer has that property. In other words, a variable that is saved in a game file for that script, that variable no longer exists in that script. So that means the script changed from a game save to the current script. So it would be a game save that was done with scripts that were different than the ones, a different version than the ones that you're currently loading it in. You would need to rule that out. Where the property, because it just says this is just cannot be initialized because it's an incorrect type. This may be the result of the same thing, where scripts were modified. It's something from a game save has a different type. So if a variable is declared as a word, but now it's a long, so it says, okay, this is a word variable, but I need to put it in long, and there really wouldn't be a problem with that. The inverse would be bad. But if the variable changed from something that is like an integer, which doesn't have any decimal points, to a single, double, or floating point, that would not work because you would lose the decimal point. So that's what you need to rule out, and that's what I'm trying to help you rule out. Is it from a previous game save loading into the current scripts, or is this the actual state of the current release? That might help the developers to more easily isolate where the problem might be, and then help whoever's left in the community at the moment who's trying to help to be able to maybe know which scripts to go to and take a look at. So I don't know if that helps. I hope it does. I don't know how long this video is, but there's no way, man, I could type all this stuff in. There's no way. Anyways, good luck. I'll be here kind of just playing Fallout 4, tinkering around, and so I'll kind of check in from time to time and see how it goes. Hopefully the purge works. If it doesn't, let's try something different and see what we get, okay? Alrighty, well, I will chat at you in a bit.